Hey Multimedia, it's Mr. Campbell here, and we are doing our next installment of the Catch and Avoid tutorial series. And what we have so far is we have a splash screen, story, instructions, level number, we have us, and we have enemies flying at us, and we have shooting. We don't have collisions yet, but we'll get there probably in a version or two. Now, what we don't have yet is the enemy shooting at us. Now, you don't have to have this, but it's kind of cool if you do. So we're going to talk about what the strategy is to make that happen. And what we want to do is, like, how do we decide when they should be shooting at us? Let's get back into the game here. And how should we decide that? Well, the easiest way to make this happen is to randomize it, and also to, they should be flying at us sometime soon here. Also to decide this based on how close they are to us. Like right there, maybe not, but if they're right above us, they should probably be shooting. And what we're going to do is do two things. We're going to use randomness, and we're also going to decide if based on how close they are to us. Now let's talk about the math to make that work. So I want to just sort of work our way through this little puzzle of how this works, and we're using some mathematical concepts. Your math teachers will be proud of you. So here we have enemies. We have our ship. Okay. And as we work our way through this, we're going to look at the X position, which is lined up on these red lines, about where the enemy is relative to the player. And in this case, we're just going to determine, let's say we want to say they should shoot at us if we're within 50 pixels of them on the X axis. Well, how does that work? Well, we say enemy fleet.x is 175, enemy fleet 2.x is 275, and enemy ship X is 225. So that's the threshold. And then we have 50 on this side and negative 50 on this side. What does that mean? Well, let's take a look at this. We have, so the math says ship.x minus enemy fleet.1.x is 50. Ship.x minus enemy fleet 2.x is minus 50. So 275 minus 225 is, or excuse me, 225 minus 275 minus 50, and 225 minus 175 is 50. So the distance is the same, but the value is different. So we have to use something called absolute value. And in this case, absolute value is indicated by these bars. You may have seen this in your math class. Absolute value is the distance on the number line, not the direction. Regardless of the direction, how far is it actually? So we say that the absolute value of 50 is the same as the absolute value of negative 50. So we determine this in our code by saying that when math.absolute value of ship.x minus enemy fleet I.x is less than 5 or 50, it says 5, should say 50. When it's that small, then the enemy should fire. So let's pop into the code, and let's just add this to the enemy layer. So here's our enemies layer, and I'm going to push F9 to open up the code, and we have, okay, so here's all our enemy moving. And we're going to add some new code in here. Now we should already have the enemy shot speed. If you don't have that, just make sure you have bare enemy shot speed. We are going to make a few more variables, like we're going to have a variable for enemy shots. It's going to be an array, so that's to hold the shots and control them one by one. It knows them by index number. So new array. Let me think. Let's have var enemy shot chance. And enemy shot chance is going to be a number, and we'll just say it's going to be equal to 0.08. I don't know. Really don't know what that number should be. So that's an 8% chance at any given time there will be a chance that the enemy shoots, and we're going to use that within the variance of the distance as we just discussed. So probably going to have to come back here and add more variables as we go, but let's just build this up as we go. Alright, so at the very bottom of all the code after enemy listener for moving enemy, let's now add another listener function pair. So again, this will be an add event listener. This will be an event.enter frame, and we're going to say the name of this function will be called enemy shoot. And this is going to be a function called enemy shoot, and make sure you have your capitals in the same places. One of the big mistakes students make is they spell this function differently in the listener and then the function declaration. So this is an event and void, and now we have the brackets. Here's what happens. Now the first thing we need to determine is if it's time to make a shot. So actually we need to loop through them. So the 4. So we're going to loop through all the enemies. So I is an integer, and it's based on the number of enemies. So we're going to loop through all the enemies to find out if each one of them should shoot or not. So we say, what do we say? We say enemy fleet dot length. So the value of it at the start is enemy fleet length -1. And again, the reason is the length of the enemy fleet is how many is in it, but the index numbers is 1 less than that, so they start as 0. So that's right, this should be -1. -1 is fine, like this. With a space or without is all the same. And we're going to say I, all values of I greater than or equal to 0, and we're going to say I minus minus. So it's going to count backwards through the array, and now for each one of them, we should determine if it's time to shoot. So two things we have to check. One is if it's close enough, and the second time if it's time to shoot. So the reason we're having time to shoot as well is because otherwise we have to find some other way to moderate how often it shoots. So this is the easiest way. So we're going to say if what do we call the player? I don't remember if it's player or ship. So going back in here, player is, well, it's player. So enemies, go back to here. So if player, and you might have called the shot, whatever you did for yours. So if player dot x minus enemy fleet I dot x, so that's this particular one. So it's checking the values like we did in that little demonstration I did earlier. So if that value is less than 50, okay, and then you're going to say do the stuff in here. Now if that is true, then let's do a math random. So if math random is less than enemy shot chance, and I don't remember if that's what we called it or not, so I'm going to go up and check. Always a good thing to check your variables. What am I using this for? So enemy shot chance was the likelihood that this particular plane or airplane or shot or whatever you're going to shoot. So if that's true, then do more stuff. So now we have 4 sets of embedded braces. So we're going to make a variable called enemy shot. It's going to be based on, gosh, I can't remember the name of the enemy shot. The shot thing was just shot with a capital S. Shot equals new shot, capital S. So it makes one of those. It's going to add child, shot, no, e-shot, just to differentiate. And truly, because it's inside of a function, you could just call it shot again and they'd be different variables, but it's going to add it to the array. So enemy shots, I think that was the name of the array. Let's go check. Enemy shots, yes, that's the array. So adding it to my enemy shots, I'm going to say dot push, and we're adding it to an e-shot. So we're adding that in there. Now I need to position it. So we've gone through some stuff. First we said let's go to every ship individually and talk to them if it's time or not. Check the position and then check if it's time. Like is it likely that they're going to shoot now? So we're adding it, and then we're going to say okay, e shot.x, let's make that capital, is going to equal enemy fleet I, that's this one, this particular one we're dealing with, dot x. And because I'm lazy, I'm going to copy and paste all that, but we're going to change it to the y. So copy, paste, and instead of x, it's y, and instead of x, it's y. And then we also need to make something, make some move. Let's just check and see if that worked though. I feel like we have an error. So let's just check this. Somewhere I see errors. Where are they? There we go. So syntax error, something before the colon. Something's missing in this line. This is a common place to make mistakes. So let's figure that out. Something's missing somewhere. So there was an error there, and I found it, and it was this for always should start with var. We've used I so many times, I forgot that I had to say var again. Now we're going to test it. Alright, so let's check and see how it works. So we're going to see ships coming in. I feel like there we go. So if I get closer, There we go. So it's within 50 and it shoots sometimes, but they're not moving, but they are shooting. Okay, so that's partly working and partly not. Where is my... There we go. So now we're going to make the shots move. This one's easy, actually. So we've added them to a thing called enemy shots, and now we're going to move them. So we're going to say add event listener. Now, previously we've had some listeners that had to be attached to an object such as stage for keyboard events, and we had attached to a button for button events. This is just a timing event. So add event listener is event dot enter frame, comma, move enemy shots. So now we're going to have a function called move enemy shots. It's based on E event void, and here's the fun part. We're going to use the for listener again, the for loop. So the for loop, as we just learned on that error I made earlier, is for var I is an integer, and the value of it is equal to E shots. Is it enemy shots? I think it's enemy shots. Enemy shots dot length -1, and all values of I greater than or equal to 0. So it's working through the whole stretch of them, greater than or equal to, excuse me, equal to 0, and then I minus minus. Let's just double check before we get too far that it's the right thing. So enemy shots, yes, enemy shots. So for all those things, do the things in these brackets, which is going to be enemy shots I dot y is going to be plus equal, I don't know, there's a value we made for this, and it's best to have a variable enemy shot speed. I'm just going to copy that while I'm up here, and there's the thing. Alright, enemy shot speed, and of course we want to say if enemy shot, let's just copy this, I can't really seem to work that. So if this value here is greater than stage.stage height, which is a variable we already have created, then do the things in here, which is real simple. We're going to do out of sight, out of mind. So enemy shots dot splice, nope, not yet, sorry, I got that wrong. Out of sight, out of mind. You can do them in any order you want. What I was remove child first and paste that in there. Enemy shots I, and out of mind is enemy shots dot splice I comma, oops, I comma 1. And that should wrap up the whole operation for getting our enemies to shoot at us. So now he's shooting at us only if he's within range. And it looks like they're shooting, they're not even showing off that often. I feel like my interval for how often the ships are showing up is too small. So I'm going to go adjust that. And the strange thing was that other ship that just shot at us wasn't even in range. So let's look at enemy intervals. So it's set to 0.011, which is 1.1% of the time. Let's bring that up to like 8% of the time. So 0.08. So now we should get some adjustments. So more enemies, and only shoots at us if we're in 50 pixels, which does not appear to be always true. I'm not sure what's going on there. So if I'm on the way other side of the screen, how are they going to shoot? It looks like they're only, well, it varies, but that's essentially how it works. They shoot us, we shoot them, nobody gets hit. If only war was like that, huh? Alright, catch up to you in a few minutes. Peace out.